Well, hello there, my dear children of the apocalypse. How are you doing today? Welcome back to the 52 Weeks of Self-Improvement, and welcome to probably the manliest episode that I'm making this year. I want to talk to you today everything and all about testosterone. Now, this story actually goes back just a tiny amount, and that was that I have, at the start of the year, joined this group of very ambitious young men called a mastermind. And a couple of weeks back, we were on a team building together, a weekend getaway where we, just get drunk, wasted, have fun, and talk shit. And during these conversations, of course, common topics among young men are going to be the effects of masculinity and toxicity and all these things to do with being a man. Because, guys between the age of, frankly, I think everything within the 20s is this broad range of a man trying to build foundations for what will later become, in his 30s, his actual life, starting a family, creating businesses, and so forth. So when we returned back from the team building experience, I did a little bit of Googling. I dove into the subject out of pure curiosity, and the numbers that I found were absolutely scary. See, on some accounts, the average 76-year-old man in the age 2000, so just 23 years ago, a person at the age of your granddad had the same testosterone level as you do at the ripe age of 20. Those numbers should frighten the hell out of you. But we don't talk about them. Nor do we talk about the fact that by some accounts, by the year 2050, most men will be infertile. And it didn't click to me until a couple of days back, and this is the reason I'm making this video. I opened up Netflix on my tablet, and I was going to go and do some cooking, a little bit of meal prep, and watch some Netflix, maybe a TV show, maybe a movie. And I had run out of things to watch. And Netflix recommended this movie from, I believe, 2006 called Children of Men. And it didn't appeal to me instantly, but as soon as I opened it and the plot was revealed, which is no spoiler, exactly that. In this case, it's not every man becomes infertile, it's every woman is infertile, but in essence, the apocalyptic world outcome is still the same. We don't think about it. We don't really go about the world thinking, what if everybody becomes infertile and we are no longer able to have kids? We have people that are, in the transsexual world where they can't even have kids if they wanted to. You have women who have decided from, a young age that they just don't want to have kids, period. They don't want to either bring kids into this, bad world, or they just aren't, they aren't willing to be mothers. But what also exists is a huge amount of men, young men, ambitious men, who want a family, who want kids, who want to get their genes and find the partner and live out the life of happy ever after. And I think what might be holding us all back are the levels of testosterone. And so out of pure curiosity for trying to understand where on this spectrum I currently am, and I plan to do further testosterone tests, perhaps once a year or every 6 months, to see how it's progressing. Is it growing? Is it falling? Is it staying steady? These are things that I think the average man should pay a little bit more attention to than we do regularly. Because a year ago, I wasn't even thinking about it. Now, I'm quite paranoid by the reality that testosterone levels are dropping at a drastic pace over the past 20 or so years. So how does the testosterone get checked? It's actually quite simple. You just give your blood, they do a quick analysis, and they let you know the results over email or text. So in our country, blood work is tested in nanograms per litre of blood. I believe in America it might be nanograms per milliliter, hence the magnification of the number by 100. Now my results came in at about 9.7, which means I have a surplus of testosterone, or rather I'm on the extreme end or the strong end, which might sound like a really good result, but the reality is that I think the numbers for the average man just about 50 or 100 years ago were actually just in a way different range. You see, in the current state of where they say an average level of testosterone is, I might be at the extreme end. But I think if we look at what used to be like, 50, 100 years ago, where my granddad would have been, this could very much be the lower end of that spectrum, because spectrum is something that moves and we can rotate it on the x-axis. Now, what should you be taking from this content? What should you be, should you be now running to your local blood testing a lab and getting your blood check done, I think you should. But one of the things that you can do to increase your testosterone, at least what I've been doing, is taking shitloads of supplements. I'm just kidding, actually. What I've done is I've done only two things. Only two things I've done that I know have actively been boosting my testosterone, and they're very simple. I eat 3 Brazil nuts before I go to bed. They're actually delicious. They're a brilliant snack, but you can only have 3 per day because of the selenium, which is this actually radioactive element within the Brazil nut, so you're not supposed to eat more than 3. And the other one, which is actually quite hard to do these days, is getting a solid 8 hours of sleep every single day. That is it. Get some exercise in, eat healthy, and I think your testosterone should naturally be going upwards. Of course, there are things that you will be doing that will be decreasing it. There will be activities you will perform, there will be addictions you will have that will decrease your testosterone. But I think it is something that every man should start tapping into. Because if the numbers are correct, if we really are headed towards a world of infertility, a world where the man's lead hormone of manliness is disappearing, that should be a frightful thing, and we all should be actively trying to prevent this from happening. Because you might not feel it today, but in 10, 15, 50 years, that could be the end of you. So get yourself checked out, get your blood work done. I mean, if you're there in the lab, you might as well do some other blood tests, right? Check the levels of iron in your blood, check for any kind of disease, check for what blood type you even have, right? There's people walking around the world don't even know what their blood type is. Invest that money. It's a very, small investment. Cost you the same amount as a takeaway order from a Chinese restaurant. So really, from the bottom of my heart, get yourself checked out. Figure out where you are on that scale and decide if this is something you're comfortable with, or do you want to go and get a little bit further. So yeah, I guess the too long didn't read version, or too long didn't watch version, is figure out how much testy is in your testy. Till next time, take care and safe flying.